Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, divorce support for dads, where we help dads create a healthy and less traumatic divorce. My name is Jude Sandoval, and I'm your host. I created this podcast and the Divorced Advocate community as a result of my own high conflict divorce, and because you as a dad deserve all the resources necessary to thrive through this challenging time. I encourage you to check out our website at thedivorcedadvocate.com, where there are resources that correspond to this episode, as well as free access to our membership community, where you will find live meetings, free workshops and courses, private discussion groups, and more. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to the show. I am so incredibly grateful that you are here listening today as we discuss choosing love over fear in the context of divorce naturally. But before we start talking about that, I wanted to welcome some new folks to the Divorced Advocate community. Welcome to JC, Joseph, Charlie, and Jim. Much appreciate you being here. And if you're listening, I'm glad that you're getting involved in the community. If you're not yet immersed in the community, please check out the website at thedivorcedadvocate.com and find all the resources there, as well as if you find value in this podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on any one of the podcast platforms, I would really, really appreciate if you shared it with somebody, shared it on social media, or stopped and gave us a star rating, or even better, left a comment. So that is helping us to grow over the last 4 weeks. We've just had some immense and through no change of my own, I don't think that I've been any more dynamic in these podcasts than I was before. But we've had a huge growth spurt over the last 4 weeks. So I can only attribute it to you and my continually requesting that you please share this far and wide. It is making a difference. And we just had another guy in our group call this weekend that said he was referred by somebody, and I asked him who it was, and I had no idea who it was. I had not met or spoken with the person. It hasn't somebody that wasn't necessarily immersed in our community. So I can only attribute that to each and every one of you continuing to share this and share our message and get this support out to everybody. So thank you for that. I sincerely appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about choosing love over fear in the context of divorce. And what I don't want this to really get into is kind of this woo-woo. Like we've heard over, I don't know, whatever, the last 5 or 6 years, this phrase, choose love or choosing love. And I didn't consciously choose this title, choosing love over fear, to have this be just like a slogan. And what I want to do, though, in order to make it not just feel like this woo-woo esoteric slogan, is just agree on 3 premises that you can keep in the back of your mind while you listen to me talk through this. And the first one is that we are all searching for love from the time that we're born throughout our entire life, that we are all seeking love. Now, dependent upon what our environment was growing up, what our experiences were growing up, has a huge impact on then how we experience love, how we find love, how we interpret love. That can be different things to different people. But the premise that I'm speaking from today is that we are always in search of love, loving relationships, a loving life, meaningfulness in our life within the context of love. So that's the first premise that I'm working from in this conversation. The second is that fear is a natural response to danger, which is just a physiological given. That is how we respond, and that helps us and has helped us survive and thrive and continue our species. But it also can serve to limit us. So that's the second premise that I'm working from in this conversation. And the last one, hence the title of choosing love over fear, is that life is a set of choices, that we always have a choice throughout our day, every moment, in what we're thinking, how we're speaking, how we're acting. Everything is a series of choices throughout life. So those are the three premises I'm working from. Hopefully that's going to help you feel a little more comfortable with this conversation of choosing love over fear in the context of divorce, and just not be afraid that we're going to be talking about some woo-woo stuff. However, this is really an extension of what I talked about last week in developing our spirituality. And you hear me talk all the time about the four legs of the stool that you need to be taking care of all of the time in our life, but particularly in divorce, is the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual parts of our lives. Because if one of those is out of balance, just like a stool that is missing one of its legs, your life is going to be out of balance. So this would fall in line with that leg of the stool of spirituality and taking care of your spirituality by choosing love over fear. So the first thing I'm going to say is choosing to stop beating yourself up. So loving yourself is really the first thing that we need to start doing. And there are books, and there's just, you search the internet, you can go through a ton of stuff about this, of self-care, et cetera, and how this is. But I know that during my divorce, one of the big things that came up for me was a ton of shame. And what shame is, and how shame is different from feeling guilty, is that you inherently feel that you are bad deep down. So if any one of you are feeling that right now through this divorce process, I just want to tell you that because you're going through a divorce, because we've gone through a divorce, does not make us inherently a bad person. We are all inherently good. We all have inherent goodness inside of us. Okay, we're designed in God's likeness, and God is good. So we are inherently good. So that shame that's coming up is, again, something that has taken a hold of us, the thought process, probably somewhere from our childhood, that we were taught, or we told, or we learned, or we just took upon ourselves, that some reason deep down we feel like we are inherently bad. Now, that's to separate from if we've had bad behaviors, or we've conducted ourselves in a bad manner. We all do, to some extent, right? We all have had times, or continue to have times, where we could behave in a better manner. And so, but that does not mean that you should or need to not love yourself through this process, because without loving yourself through this process, you're never going to be able to get through this, to grow and to heal, and be able to love your children as well as love somebody else, and potentially have another healthy relationship in your life, whether that's a marriage, whether that's a healthy relationship in your professional life, whether that's healthy relationships with your kids. There's the saying, you can only be loved to the extent that you love yourself. So the first one is to stop beating yourself up about this, and start to love yourself first. The next thing I'll say is choose to accept your struggles as an opportunity for growth and change. Now, any of you who've been listening to me for a period of time, or listen or are binging on many of these podcasts, have heard me talk about divorce as an opportunity. So that is really hard, I understand, to maybe conceptualize right now while you're in the thick of this, and it's just incredibly painful. But I can assure you that this breaking open, that this self reflection and awareness that some of you are literally being forced into paying attention to and having to experience, is absolutely an opportunity. Lots of folks in our group meetings talk about it as being life 2.0. And the beauty about our group meetings is when we're in them, we've got folks from that are contemplating divorce all the way through have been divorced for decades. And so that is great, because it allows the folks that are contemplating or in the middle of it to also hear from the others that have gone through it, and while life is never perfect, that they can say that my life has grown since my divorce, because I took it as an opportunity to do the work that I needed to do to better myself and better my life. So it is absolutely positively an opportunity, but you have to choose. Again, this comes to this premise, right? That life is a series of choices. You have to choose to view it as view and accept it as an opportunity for growth and change. Because if you don't choose that as an opportunity, then it's just not gonna happen. You have to make that choice in order for it to happen. Because if you make that choice, then you're going to make the subsequent choices in order to experience that growth and change. So next is choose to see all people through a lens of compassion. There's this saying that hurt people hurt people. So somebody that is hurt or hurting will therefore hurt somebody else. So it's kind of like a wounded animal that you're trying to help. You see these videos sometimes with puppies that have or animals that have been severely abused, and they just want to lash out at you because that's all they know, and they've been hurt, so they're going to hurt back in order to just protect themselves. So this was something through 12-step work and listening to others in group, hearing what their stories are and understanding that everybody that we come in contact with every single day is going through something. And what they're going through is extraordinarily important to their lives, and that we are going through something too, that one isn't worse or better than the other, but that it is equally important in each of our individual lives that we are all going through something. So if you can view that, and I'll tell you where the place that I need to view that the most is when I'm driving, right? That is the worst. I am the most judgmental, the worst person on the road, judging and being just non-compassionate about drivers who are cutting me off or not driving right or whatever it might be. I pray every day that I can be better at that. And, it was exacerbated this last year in teaching my oldest how to drive. And now I'm teaching my next one how to drive. And it's like, oh my gosh, I really need to pay attention to this. I've gotten better in all the rest of the areas of my life in being compassionate with people and seeing that everybody's going through something except when I'm driving. So just understand that we are all going through something. And look, if we talk to people long enough, we scratch the surface just a little bit further down, we're gonna see and we're gonna realize that everybody is always going through something. So let's have compassion for each other. Choose to have compassion for each other. So choose when you're driving to bless that person that cuts you off rather than giving them the finger. Not speaking from any of my experiences ever, right? Okay, so enough said. The next is choose to forgive yourself and others. Now, forgiveness is an absolutely miraculous concept, and science is really starting to back up this forgiveness mindset. They've actually done studies now that show that you can create the same brainwave state that monks develop after 20 plus years of intense meditation by just doing forgiveness practices. Forgiving yourself, which I always recommend doing because that was for me the best start to forgiving, was being able to forgive myself first for things that I had done in the past, for how I've shown up, how I haven't shown up, for my behaviors, for any of the myriad of things that I've not done great in my lifetime, and then move on to being able to forgive others. Now, that's a real challenge right now when you're in the middle of divorce and you've got somebody, or if you are post-divorce and you've got somebody, because we're never, ever.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Jude with a quick reminder about the Divorced Advocate Foundation for Fathers, which is our nonprofit that helps dads through divorce with legal education, free or reduced cost coaching, and mental health resources. If you own a business or know someone who does, there's an easy way to help by connecting credit card processing through our partner program. Part of the fees go straight to the foundation with no added cost to the business, and 98% of businesses are actually able to save money on their processing fees. It's a win-win. So if you know a business that accepts credit cards, get them in touch with me by sending a warm introduction email to jude@thedivorcedadvocate.com or give me a call directly at 720-255-1021. We're never ever completely free from our exes because we're bound by our parenting with our children. So this is where this makes this a little bit challenging to be forgiving them, and it might be an ongoing practice that you have to work on in forgiving your exes, particularly if they're not showing up in a manner that is what you would describe as beneficial for the kids or the family or for moving things forward in your co-parenting relationship. So, but that, again, if you have the mindset of it being an opportunity, right? This is an opportunity for you to practice this forgiveness. And so it's absolutely amazing the mindset shift that can happen. Now, how do you do that? There are a myriad of ways. Again, you can look stuff up on the internet, and you can do journaling around it. One that is kind of a mantra is Ho'oponopono. It is a Hawaiian saying, and you go through it, and it's just, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. And that's all it is you're just saying that over and over in your mind with the vision of what it is that you're trying to forgive, whether it's yourself, whether it's somebody else, whether it's a situation, whatever it might be. It's Ho'oponopono. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And different people do it in different order there. And the order is not necessarily important of how you do it. It's just that you're doing it, and you're doing it continually because, again, you hear me talk about all the time, you're rewiring your brain, your neurological, oh my gosh, I'm really struggling with that. The way that you think, your neurological pathways. Thank you. Wow, that was incredibly difficult. Your neurological pathways, you're rewiring those in order to be thinking a different way. So by continuing to do those mantras, what you do is you rewire those pathways to have a different thought process. So you're literally, instead of going down the one that was negative, that's non-forgiving, you're going down the one that's forgiving, and it absolutely raises this brainwave state to that which is much higher than where it was before. So that is just one way to do it. But forgiveness, look into it. I would say, and we're going to talk next about gratitude. Well, not the next one, the one after this, but forgiveness and gratitude, two absolutely miraculous mindset shifts that you can adopt and you can work on that will have an immense effect on your life and your outlook on how you approach divorce, going through the divorce, and your post-divorce. So before we get to the gratitude one, the next one I'll talk about is choosing to appreciate your body. You've heard me describe before that our bodies are basically a way in which we are being told that we need to pay attention to something. So when we have those emotions come up, it's through our body that's raising the awareness for us to be paying attention to something, because this emotion is clearly coming through. Happiness or sadness or anger or whatever it might be, there is emotion that's coming through. And when we're happy, we really don't pay attention to it, which we should be paying attention to it, because if we are joyful, we are happy, and we're in that state, if we're paying attention to it, we can actually learn how to capture that more often, or when we're in the other states of maybe anger or sadness, how we can limit that and then move ourselves into that joyful or happy state. So if we understand what got us into or why we're in a joyful or happy state, it'll help us when we're not in it in order to move towards it. So pay attention to that happy state. Try to understand and anchor that in your mind or in your body so that you can move to that. And that's part of Joey Klein's inner matrix systems and and some other work that we've talked about on the show. But also, if those feelings of sadness or anger come up, also that is also our body making us aware of something that we need to work through, that we need to understand. Now, here's the thing that is going to happen if you don't pay attention to that stuff and you don't pay attention to taking care of your body and you let it go and you don't exercise and you don't get the sleep that you're supposed to get and you don't eat right, is then this system that we've been blessed with, this body that we have, is going to start to do things to make sure that you pay attention to it. So that means sickness. If you don't pay attention after sickness, that might mean disease. And if you don't pay attention after disease, I mean, it could be really catastrophic. And we see that lots of times with people that are very, very sick and very, very have disease, and we need to pay attention. So it's just the way that we are designed. So if you start off with paying attention through this divorce process, and one of the things we talk about of those four legs of the stool is your physical life. So maybe it's as simple right now for you in just your first baby step of choosing to appreciate your body by just going and getting some exercise, just maybe going for a walk to start that process. And then you can build on getting better sleep, build on eating better, building on getting more exercise, or including resistance training or whatever, so that your body is in a peak state for you to be able to have this stuff come through, and that you can pay attention to it, and you can process it, and you can do what you need to do with it in order to move. Then you get to the point where you're in control, right? You're choosing to appreciate your body. You're choosing to take care of your body. You're choosing, then you have the ability, you've got the tool here in your body, then to move your life in the direction that you want. Okay, I know that sounds like just a ton and a lot right now during divorce. And all I want you to do is think about choosing to appreciate your body right now, however that is for you in your life. And then slowly, every day, just try to do a little bit better until you can get to the point where I was talking about, where you do recognize those emotions and feelings coming up, and you're able to take them, and you've mapped and understand and anchored that joy and happiness, and you can make that change into that mindset, so you can make decisions based out of that as opposed to fear. So that's where then you get into choosing love over fear, because you're choosing to move yourself in that direction away from that emotion or feeling that may be anchored in fear into something that is more loving. So it sounds like a lot. Again, just take one step at a time, do a little bit better today than you did yesterday, and tomorrow than you did today. And I promise you, after a period of time, you're going to look back and go, wow. And that's all you're going to say is, wow, look how far I've come. I promise you do that. Okay. And now the next one is what I alluded to earlier, which is be grateful for all that you have. Okay. This is a mindset. It's going to give you more and more and more. Gratitude. You cannot be in two, you hear me say this all the time, you cannot be in two emotions simultaneously. So if you want just a simple tool to get out of a sad mindset or an angry mindset or something that isn't serving you in the moment, whatever that might be, choose to do some sort of gratitude exercise. The one I say all of the time is a gratitude list. Pull out your phone with the notepad, or pull out a piece of paper and just start writing everything that you're grateful for, and try to write 100 things that you're grateful for. I say 100 things because that's going to take you more than a couple of minutes to do. And once you take more than a couple of minutes, that emotion that you were in that was not serving you will have passed. These emotions don't last very long. And if you've literally taken the time to write a gratitude list, you have done what I just described, which is move yourself into a different mindset. Because that emotion is going to be past. You're going to be working on this on this skill or on this exercise, and you will be literally moving yourself towards a better mindset. And what that does again is it rewires your neural pathways to then think towards gratitude immediately. So eventually, and I know this is hard right now, especially when you're getting triggered with the attorneys or your ex or the kids or shame or whatever it is that's coming up, to think that you can just do it like that. But it will gradually move towards where your initial thought when some of this comes up is you're grateful for it, because you know you're going to have some growth on the backside. You heard me talk about this last week with gratitude, and you hear me talk about gratitude all the time. There's a great story in Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and he talks about where there's a picture of him and his fellow prisoners at I think he was in Auschwitz or wherever he was, a prisoner of the Nazis in one of the concentration camps. And they say, well, like, how did you find hope? And it showed him and I think two others like sleeping on one small bed together, just cramped all together. And he made the comment of the fact that the whole premise of the book is that the people who had hope were the ones that lived through this experience, and the ones that gave up hope were not the ones that lived through the experience. And he said that actually the picture that the person was talking about and showing them, he was actually very grateful for that day or that night that they were sleeping on that bed with just three of them, because usually it was four of them. And so, I mean, that's just a mind-boggling thought, right? That he was grateful because there were only three of them on that bed that night, as opposed to four of them in these just awful, awful circumstances. So, that's the mindset. That's where we want to move and rewire our neural pathways to get to where we're grateful for something in whatever state we're at. So try to find the gratitude every single day. Try to create a practice in the morning, during the day, at night, that's going to help you to find that gratitude. Okay, the next one is choose to let the beliefs, thoughts, and ideas that are no longer serving you go. So through this process, through stopping beating yourself up, looking for at this as an opportunity, forgiving yourself, a lot of this work, you're going to start being you're going to start being faced with some beliefs and thoughts and ideas that are no longer consistent with who you are. And so that's difficult and challenging, but learning to let those go and identifying where they came from first and letting those go is going to be absolutely critical for you choosing love over fear, because many times these beliefs, these thoughts, these ideas have been placed in our minds, or placed on us, if you will, through our childhood or early adult life, or through something that somebody said to us. And a lot of them are rooted in fear. Again, hurt people. Maybe somebody who is hurt said something hurtful, and it was rooted in fear. And so letting those ideas, letting those thoughts, letting those beliefs go is going to be absolute critical for you being able to choose love. The next is choosing to set loving boundaries, speaking your truth, and asking for what you need. Say that again. Choosing to set loving boundaries, speaking your truth, and asking for what you need. This was a huge one for me because I was so codependent. And in the codependence, there are challenges in being able to speak up for what you see and what you feel, your truth, if you will. It's very difficult to share what your feelings are. It's almost impossible to set boundaries, or if you do set boundaries, then you let people exceed those boundaries or walk over your boundaries, or not honor your boundaries. And so if this is you and this describes you, in order, and it all, again, is rooted in fear, right? The fear of not being able to get the love that we need. And this is this is basically the definition of codependency, is not getting the love, or trying to get the love that you want by doing things for others, right? So you're doing in order to get the love that you want back. And so you do this, and then instead of setting the boundaries when you don't get them, or when somebody walks all over you, then you just let it be and you just let it go. So setting those boundaries, and setting loving boundaries, right? You can set boundaries in love, and you can even enforce those in love, especially if you're just you're just being true to what it is that you're feeling and what it is that you need, and then asking for an agreement on what that is. That's nonviolent communication, is how you one of the ways in which you can go about doing this. So if you just look up nonviolent communication, it will help you in choosing to set those boundaries, speak your truth, and ask for what you need. So, and we've talked on the show before about nonviolent communication, and some ways in which you can do that. Those are just the 4 steps to doing it. And it's absolutely miraculous. It'll change your relationships with everybody in your life when you learn how to. And again, these are not easy concepts, and I'm talking about a lot of skills here, right? And we're talking about a lot of ways in which you can choose love over fear, and how to implement this stuff in your life. Don't go crazy. Don't try to do all this stuff at once. It's impossible to do, but just find one today from this podcast episode, and then just start to work on that, and then come back or listen to some other episodes and find something else. That's what we're all about here through this process. This is an opportunity for you for Life 2.0. And if you listen to some of the guests and what they've had to say, and you listen to some of the other podcasts and what we talk about in trying to help you in order to get through this process, it is going to compound upon itself after a while, and it's going to have an impact in your Life 2.0. All right, the next one is choose to see your possible. To hear the rest of this episode and access the corresponding resources, visit thedivorcedadvocate.com and become a member of our community. It's free to join and will provide you with the resources you deserve as a divorced or divorcing dad. Thank you for listening. God bless, and I'll talk with you next week.